The legacy of Patrice Lumumba, a voice for African independence. Patrice Émery Lumumba is a name that echoes through the corridors of African history. As the first Prime Minister of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, his story is one of passion, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to freedom. His life was tragically cut short, but his legacy as a symbol of African independence and resistance against colonial oppression continues to inspire generations. Born on July 2, 1925, in the village of Onalua in the Belgian Congo, Lumumba grew up in a country under the grip of colonial rule. He was an intelligent and curious child who excelled in his studies. As a young man, he worked various jobs, including as a postal clerk, where he became acutely aware of the racial inequalities and exploitation that defined colonial life. This experience ignited his political consciousness. In the 1950s, Lumumba became involved in local politics and co-founded the Mouvement National Congolais, MNC, in 1958. His vision was clear: a united Congo free from colonial domination, where all citizens could enjoy equality and dignity. Lumumba's charismatic speeches and commitment to liberation made him a prominent figure in the fight for independence. As the winds of change swept across Africa, the Belgian Congo became a focal point of the struggle for freedom. Lumumba's leadership in the 1959 Congo crisis was instrumental in pushing for independence. Despite facing imprisonment and harsh repression, his resolve never wavered. On June 30, 1960, the Democratic Republic of the Congo declared its independence from Belgium. In his impassioned independence speech, Lumumba denounced the brutality of colonialism and called for national unity. This speech, delivered in front of Belgian King Baudouin, shocked the world and cemented Lumumba's place as a courageous and outspoken leader. As the first Prime Minister, Lumumba faced enormous challenges. The new nation was fragile, divided by ethnic tensions and external pressures. Within weeks, the mineral-rich province of Katanga, backed by Belgium, declared secession. This posed a severe threat to the country's stability. Lumumba sought help from the United Nations to restore order, but when their response fell short, he turned to the Soviet Union. This move alarmed Western powers, particularly the United States, which viewed Lumumba as a potential ally of communism during the Cold War. His independent stance and refusal to align with Western interests made him a target for foreign intervention. In September 1960, just months after taking office, Lumumba was dismissed by President Joseph Kasavubu under pressure from Western powers. A military coup led by Colonel Joseph Mobutu further weakened his position. Arrested and humiliated, Lumumba was eventually handed over to his enemies in Katanga. What followed was a chilling and brutal execution. On January 17, 1961, Patrice Lumumba was shot by a firing squad under the supervision of Belgian officers, with covert support from the CIA. His body did not receive the dignity of a proper burial. In a horrifying attempt to erase his memory, Belgian officials, under the orders of Police Commissioner Gerard Souete, dismembered his body and dissolved it in acid. Only a few of his teeth and some remains were kept as grim trophies, a haunting symbol of colonial cruelty and the extent to which Western powers would go to silence African leaders who defied them. This act of desecration aimed to eliminate not just Lumumba, but the very idea of Congolese sovereignty. For decades, the truth was hidden. But in recent years, Belgium has faced increasing pressure to acknowledge its role in Lumumba's assassination and the subsequent cover-up. In 2022, after more than 60 years, Belgium officially returned one of Lumumba's teeth to his family in a solemn act of partial reckoning with its colonial past. Despite his tragic death, Lumumba's legacy endures. He remains a powerful symbol of African self-determination and resistance to imperialism. His life and ideals continue to inspire movements for social justice and freedom worldwide. Today, Patrice Lumumba is remembered as a visionary leader who gave everything for his people. His story serves as a reminder of the enduring struggle for true independence and the cost of challenging global powers. Lumumba's voice, though silenced, still echoes as a call for justice and dignity for all oppressed peoples. The final return of his tooth to his family stands as both an acknowledgement of past atrocities and a reminder that the fight for justice is far from over. The air was heavy with memory. In the heart of Kinshasa, under the shadow of a rising sun, a nation gathered to receive what had been stolen decades before. Drums echoed softly through the square, a slow and mournful rhythm, as dignitaries stood in silence, faces stern with the weight of history. At the center of it all stood a small, unassuming box, and inside a single tooth. This was no ordinary relic. It was the last physical trace of Patrice Lumumba, the first prime minister of an independent Congo. A man whose words ignited hope, whose vision sought freedom, and whose life was cut short by the cruel hand of imperialism. For over 60 years, the tooth had been held in a distant land, a grim trophy of a colonial past Belgium had long refused to confront. Now at last it was coming home. The streets swelled with people, some too young to remember Lumumba as anything but a name whispered in stories of resistance. Yet his presence was felt. Elderly women, wrapped in bright fabrics patterned with his image, wiped tears from their cheeks. Young men stood with clenched fists raised high. For many, this was not just the return of a relic. It was the return of dignity. A solemn voice pierced the hush. "Today we bring our father home." The words echoed over the crowd, and the box was lifted high, shimmering beneath the sun. It was a homecoming long delayed. In 1961, Lumumba had been taken from his family, tortured, and murdered. His body was dissolved in acid, erased, as if his existence could be wiped from memory. Yet, memory held firm. His ideas had never died, and neither did the hunger for justice. For Belgium, the return was an acknowledgement of its violent colonial past. But for the Congolese people, it was something deeper. This small tooth was proof that even in death, Lumumba could not be silenced. His spirit remained, rising from the soil like the Congo River itself, unyielding, eternal. As the ceremony reached its climax, the box was placed in a glass case, a monument to memory. Silence hung heavy, broken only by the sound of distant drums. For a moment, time seemed to pause, and in that stillness, Lumumba returned to the people he had never truly left. The sun climbed higher, the drums grew louder, and a nation, still, healing from the scars of its past, stood unbroken, carrying its hero home at last.